Who can tell then the beauty of his adorable face? His white complexion looks like snow tinted with a color of roses, the most beautiful ones. In his rosy cheeks one discovers the greatness of his person, with a most majestic look, fully divine, which strikes fear and reverence, and at the same time it communicates such intimacy that as for myself, I have never found anyone who would give me the least shadow of intimacy that my dear Jesus gives. Neither my parents, nor the confessors, nor my sisters. Ah, yes, that holy face, while it is so majestic, it is also so lovable. And that loveliness attracts one so much that the soul does not have the slightest doubt of being welcomed by Jesus, as ugly and sinful as she may see herself. But beautiful also is his nose, which descends to a very fine point, proportioned to his most sacred face. Gracious is his mouth, small, but extremely beautiful, and his finest lips of scarlet color. While he speaks, he contains such graciousness that it is impossible to describe it. Sweet is the voice of my Jesus. It is gentle. It is harmonious. While he speaks, such a fragrance comes out of his mouth that it seems that nothing like it can be found on earth. It is so penetrating as to penetrate everywhere. One feels it descend from the hearing to the heart, and oh, how many effects it produces. But who can say everything? Then it is so pleasant that I believe that no other pleasures can be found, as many as are those that one can find in one single word of Jesus. The voice of my Jesus is immensely powerful. It is operative, and in the very act in which he speaks, he already operates that which he says. Ah, yes, beautiful is his mouth, but it displays its beautiful grace more in the act of his speaking, while one can see those teeth so clear and so well arranged, and his breath of love comes out, igniting, darting through, consuming the heart. Beautiful are his hands, soft, white, most delicate, with those fingers so artfully crafted, and he moves them with such mastery that it is an enchantment. Oh, how beautiful you are, all beautiful, oh my sweet Jesus. What I have said of your beauty is nothing. Rather, it seems to me that I have said a lot of nonsense. But what can I do? Forgive me. It is obedience that wants it so. For by myself I would not have dared to say one word, knowing my insufficiency. Now while I was seeing Jesus in the appearance already described, he sent me a breath from his mouth, which invested all of my soul. And it seemed that, with that breath, Jesus was drawing me after himself, and I began to feel my soul going out of my body. I really felt it go out from all parts, from my head, from my hands, and even from my feet. Since it was the first time that this was happening to me, within myself I began to say, "Now I die. The Lord has come to take me." When I saw myself out of the body, the soul had the same sensation of the body, with this difference, that the body contains flesh, nerves, and bones, while the soul does not. It is a body of light. So I felt a fear within me, but Jesus continued to send me that breath and told me, "If being deprived of me gives you so much pain, now come together with me, for I want to console you." And so Jesus began his flight, and I began mine after him, and we went around through the whole vault of the heavens. Oh, how beautiful it was to stroll together with Jesus. Now I would lean my head upon his shoulder with one arm around his shoulders and the other hand in his hand. Now Jesus would lean on me. When we reached certain places that were inundated more with iniquity, oh, how my good Jesus suffered. I could see with more clarity the sufferings of his adorable heart. I could see him coming, almost faint, and I would say to him, "Lean on me, and let me share your pains, for my soul could not bear seeing you suffer alone." And Jesus would say to me, "My beloved, help me, for I can take no more." And while saying this, he would draw his lips close to mine, and he would pour such bitterness that I would feel mortal pains when feeling that liquor, so very bitter, enter into me. I would feel as if many knives, pricks, arrows were piercing through me. In some, an atrocious torment would form in all of my members, and as the soul would go back into the body, it would make the body participate in these sufferings. Who can tell the pains? Jesus himself was the witness of it, because others could not mitigate my pains, since I would be in that state of loss of consciousness, and they would wait for the time when the confessor would be present, because then they would mitigate also at the call of obedience. So Jesus alone could help me when he would see that my nature could not take any more and reached truly the extremes, such that there was nothing left for me but to breathe my last. Oh, how many times death made fun of me, but the day will come when I will make fun of her. So Jesus would come. He would take me in his arms. He would draw me close to his heart, and oh, how I felt life come back to me. Then he would pour a most sweet liquor from his lips, and in this way the pains would mitigate. Other times, while he would take me around together with him, if there were sins of blasphemy against charity and others, he would pour those poisonous bitters. If then there were sins of dishonesty, he would pour something of stinking rottenness. And when I would return into myself, I could feel that stink so well, and the stench was such that it would revolt my stomach, and I would feel faint. And sometimes when taking food, and afterwards, when I would bring it up, I could feel that rot come out of my mouth mixed with the food. Sometimes then he would bring me into churches, and even there my good Jesus was offended. Oh, how awfully those works reached his heart. Holy works, yes, but done roughly. Those prayers empty of interior spirit, that piety, false, apparent. It only seemed to give him more insult than honor to Jesus. Ah, yes, that holy, pure, upright heart could not receive those works done so badly. Oh, how many times he lamented, saying, "Daughter, even from those people who are said to be devout, see how many offenses they give me, even in the holiest places. In receiving the very sacraments, instead of coming out purified, they come out dirtier." Ah, yes, how much pain it was for Jesus to see people receiving communion sacrilegiously. Priests celebrating the holy sacrifice of the Mass in mortal sin, out of habit, and some, a horror to say it, even out of interest. Oh, how many times my Jesus made me see these scenes so painful. How many times, while the priest was celebrating the sacrosanct mystery, Jesus is forced to go into his hands because he is called by the priestly authority. One could see those hands dripping with rot, blood, or smeared with mud. Oh, how pitiful then was the state of Jesus, so holy, so pure, in those hands which struck horror at the mere sight. It seemed he wanted to escape from between those hands, but he was forced to stay until the species of bread and wine could be consumed. Sometimes, while remaining there with the priest, he would come hurriedly toward me, all lamenting, and before I could say it, he himself would say to me, "Daughter, let me pour it into you, for I can take no more. Have pity on my state, which is too painful. Have patience. Let us suffer together." And while saying this, he would pour from his mouth into mine. But who can say what he poured? It seemed to be a bitter poison, a fetid rot, mixed with food so hard, disgusting, and nauseating, that sometimes it would not go down. Who can tell then the sufferings that this pouring of Jesus produced? If he himself had not sustained me, I certainly would have died. Yet he would pour in me but the least part. What must it be for Jesus, who contained tons upon tons of it? Oh, how awful sin is. Ah, Lord, let everyone know it, so that all may flee from this monster so horrible. But while I would see these scenes so sorrowful, other times he would also make me see scenes so consoling and beautiful as to be enrapturing, and this was to see good and holy priests celebrating the sacrosanct mysteries. O God, how high, great, sublime is their ministry. How beautiful it was to see the priest celebrating Mass and Jesus transformed into him. It seemed that it was not the priest, but Jesus himself that celebrated the divine sacrifice. And sometimes he would make the priest disappear completely, and Jesus alone would celebrate the Mass. And I would listen to him. Oh, how touching it was to see Jesus recite those prayers, do all those ceremonies and movements that the priest does. Who can say how consoling it was for me to see these Masses together with Jesus? How many graces I have received, how much light, how many things I comprehended. But since these are past things, I don't remember them too clearly, so I keep silent. But as I am saying this, Jesus has moved in my interior and has called me. He doesn't want me to do so. Ah, Lord, how much patience it takes with you. Well then, I will content you. O sweet love, I will say a few little things, but give me your grace to be able to manifest them, because by myself I would not dare to utter one word about mysteries so profound and sublime.